Have you ever really stopped to think about who decides where your tax money goes? I mean, it's a huge question, right? It impacts the roads we drive on, the hospitals we visit, pretty much everything. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the single most powerful financial player in the entire government. Let's jump in.
So get this, it's a pretty wild fact when you think about it. Just one ministry holds the purse strings for nearly every single shilling the government spends. And who is this all-powerful gatekeeper? It's the Ministry of Finance, but you probably know it as the Treasury.
To really get how this works, I want you to picture a giant pyramid. Right at the very top, that's where the Treasury sits. Every other government body, every ministry, every agency, you name it, they're all at the bottom looking up, because they can't do anything without the money that flows down from the Treasury.
So what does this power actually look like? Well, it really boils down to four key things. First, they design the entire national budget. They're the architects of the country's spending plan. Then, they decide who gets a slice of the pie and how big that slice is. They also set strict spending limits, what we call budget ceilings. And maybe the most crucial part, they have the final say. Not one shilling moves without their sign-off.
Now, you might be wondering, why put so much power in one place? Doesn't that seem risky? Well, the official reason is all about control and discipline. This setup is meant to stop out-of-control spending, to prevent, say, two different departments from building the same road, and to make sure everyone in government is working towards the same national goals.
Okay, let's talk a little more about one of the Treasury's most powerful tools, these budget ceilings. Honestly, the best way to think about them is like an allowance for a government ministry. And let's be super clear here. A budget ceiling is not a suggestion. It is a hard, non-negotiable limit. It is the absolute maximum a ministry is allowed to spend. Once they hit that number, the money tap is turned off. End of story.
So, how do they come up with this magic number? It's a pretty logical process, actually. First, the Treasury looks at the country's big priorities and what a ministry has spent in the past. Based on that, they set the ceiling, the maximum limit. Then, it's up to the ministry to figure out how to run all their programs within that limit. Finally, they submit that plan back for one last approval.
And this little chart shows you exactly how that plays out. Look at the left. A ministry asks for $10 million, but their ceiling is $8 million. What happens? Rejected. No discussion. But on the right, they ask for $7.9 million, just under their limit. That gets a green light. It really is that black and white.
Okay, this all makes sense on paper, but it leads to a huge question, right? How on earth does one ministry keep track of every single payment across the entire government to make sure nobody breaks these rules?
Well, the answer is technology. The Treasury has a secret weapon, and it's a powerful digital system called the Integrated Financial Management Information System, or IFMIS for short. This is the tech that turns all those budget rules into basically unbreakable digital locks. Here's how it works in real time. A ministry wants to pay for something, so they enter the request into IFMIS. Instantly, the system checks the account. Is there enough money left in that specific budget line? If yes, boom, the payment is processed. But if the account is empty, even by a single shilling, the system automatically blocks the payment. It's a digital wall they just can't get past.
And this is what's so incredible about the whole thing. Because of IFMIS, the Treasury isn't just a group that sets the budget at the start of the year and hopes for the best. No, they are active controllers, watching the flow of money in real time every single moment of every single day.
All right, so let's zoom out. We've seen the how, but let's talk about the why. Why does this highly centralized system matter so much? Not just for the government, but for you. Just think about it like this. The money needed to pay a doctor's salary, to build a new highway, to buy medicine for a local clinic, none of that money can actually be spent until the Treasury gives the final okay. Their approval is the final step for everything.
And having this much control has some huge potential benefits. It's designed to stop wasteful spending, which means your tax money is more likely to be used for things that matter. It helps close those sneaky loopholes where corruption can happen. It makes sure money for schools is actually spent on schools. And on a bigger scale, it helps keep the whole country's economy stable by controlling debt. You know, if you want one simple way to remember all this slide nails it. Think of the government as a giant game. The Treasury is the financial referee. They make sure everyone plays by the rules and that the game is fair. So, we've talked about the power pyramid, budget ceilings, and the digital locks of IFMS. If you're going to walk away with just one big idea from all of this, what should it be? It's this.
Where your tax money goes isn't some deep, dark secret. It's a tightly controlled process with a very powerful gatekeeper. And understanding that the Treasury holds the keys and that systems like IFMIS are there to enforce the rules, that gives you the power. The power to ask smarter questions and to demand accountability. Because when you know how the money is supposed to flow, you're in the best position to see when it doesn't.